I shot my husband in the foot the day he confessed to killing my brother. But I missed the heart because love's a lousy aim. He laughed through the blood, called me his fiery Bella, and swore it was an accident, until the mistress showed up at the hospital with takeout Thai and a smile that said she'd scripted the whole damn thing. By the time we buried him, 6 months later, she'd upgraded to heirlooms, draping my mother's pearls around her neck like war trophies. And I realized revenge wasn't about pulling triggers, it was about loading questions like bullets. It started in that godforsaken summer of 2024, when the heat in Chicago clung to your skin like a bad debt. Jack and I had been married 12 years. The kind of union that looked solid from the outside, suburban split-level in Oak Park. 2 cars in the garage. Me teaching high school English to kids who dreamed of escaping the Midwest grind. Him climbing a ladder at that soulless finance firm downtown. We weren't fireworks, we were the steady hum of a well-oiled machine. Or so I thought. Jack had always been the charmer. The guy who could talk his way out of a parking ticket or into a corner office. Tall. Broad-shouldered. With that easy grin that made you forgive the late nights at the office. The confession came after a bottle of Malbec and a fight about why he was pulling away. We'd been drifting. Sure, sex had gone from marathon to microwave dinner, but I chalked it up to midlife bullshit. He was 42, staring down the barrel of irrelevance. That night, sprawled on the living room rug with the dog snoring in the corner, he spilled it. Bella, remember Tommy? Your kid brother. The one who ate it on that bike path back in 18? His voice cracked like thin ice. Tommy had been 19, fresh out of community college, pedaling home from a shift at the corner bodega when a black SUV clipped him into the ravine. Cops called it a hit and run. No witnesses. Case gone cold. I'd mourned him like a limb amputation. The guilt gnawing because I'd pushed him to get that job, to man up and contribute. Jack's eyes were wet, but not with sorrow, with the weight of carrying a lie. It was me. Bells. I was late for a meeting, texting some bullshit about quarterly reports. I felt the thump, but I panicked. Thought if I stopped, it'd ruin everything. You, the firm, our life. He reached for my hand, but I yanked back, the room tilting like a funhouse mirror. My brother, my shadow, the one who'd idolized Jack like a big brother, smeared across asphalt because of a goddamn email? I don't remember grabbing the Glock from the nightstand. Jack had insisted on it after some neighborhood break-ins. The American Dream's paranoid accessory. The shot echoed like Judgment Day, splintering his loafer and spraying red across the Berber carpet. He howled, clutching his foot. But then that laugh bubbled up. Manic. Disbelieving. Jesus. Bella. You crazy bitch. It's not like I meant to. He crawled toward me, blood trailing. And, in that moment, I saw the fracture lines, the man I'd built a life with, reduced to a stranger begging for absolution. The hospital was a blur of fluorescent hell. Cops came, but Jack spun it as a domestic mishap, self-defense gone wrong. No charges if we kept it quiet. I sat in the ER waiting room, numb, replaying Tommy's laugh, his dumb jokes about becoming a pro cyclist. When she walked in, Victoria Hale, all legs and Louboutins, carrying a greasy bag from that spot on Michigan Avenue, my stomach dropped. She was everything I wasn't. 28. Blonde ambition bottled in a sheath dress. The kind of woman who made boardrooms her playground. Jack's junior associate, he'd called her. Now she was perched on his bed rail, feeding him pad thai with chopsticks, murmuring, "You poor thing. Let's get you out of here." I stood in the doorway, invisible at first, until she turned and flashed that shark smile. Oh,
Hi.
Bella,
Right?
Jax told me so much. Her eyes flicked to the bandage peeking from his gown, then back to me, appraising. Jack mumbled something about work, but the air thickened with what wasn't said.
She knew.
About Tommy. About the panic, the swerve, the silence after. And she stayed, because power like that, it's addictive. We patched things up, or pretended to. Jack got a boot and a limp, therapy sessions where he cried about unprocessed trauma. I swallowed the rage, buried it under PDA meetings and grading papers on The Great Gatsby, irony lost on no one. But Victoria lingered like smoke. She'd text him meeting reminders at odd hours, show up at our door with files that smelled like Chanel No.
5.
Jack swore it was nothing, just office flirtation, but I saw the glances, the way he'd light up when his phone buzzed. Betrayal isn't a thunderclap, it's the slow drip of poison in your coffee. Fall turned to winter, and Jack's guilt morphed into mania. He'd drink more, ramble about making it right, donating to bike safety charities anonymously, whispering apologies to Tommy's faded photo on the mantle. I nodded, played the supportive wife. But inside, I was cataloging. The SUV traded in quietly after the accident, the dash cam malfunction, the way he'd coached me through the police interviews, feeding me lines to throw them off. I'd lied for him, back then. Said I was home alone. No calls from Jack that night. Because what? Protect the family? The lie we told ourselves was that Tommy's death was random cruelty, not our original sin. Victoria escalated it. One night, I found a hotel keycard in his jacket, the Drake, overlooking the lake, where power players sealed deals. I confronted him in the kitchen, voice low so the neighbors wouldn't hear through the thin walls. Is it her? The one who knows? Jack's face crumpled, then hardened. Bells. It's complicated. She's got ideas, connections. If I cut her off, she could. Talk. Blackmail.
Plain as day.
She held the thread to our unraveling, Tommy's truth, Jack's cowardice. And me, the accomplice who'd fired the shot but missed the kill. I didn't cry. I planned. Started with a burner phone. Anonymous tips to a PI I'd found online, ex-cop named Harlan Crow. The type who looked like he'd seen too many rainy stakeouts. Dig into Victoria Hale, I typed. And my husband. See what sticks. Harlan's rates were highway robbery, but grief buys clarity. His first report landed like a gut punch. Photos of them at a dive bar in Wicker Park. Her hand on his knee. Emails where she called him my secret project, laced with innuendo and veiled threats. Tell Bella. Or I will. One read. Time-stamped weeks after Tommy's death. She'd known all along. Pieced it from Jack's drunken slips during their mentorship. Spring bloomed. Cruel and green. And Jack proposed a fresh start. Let's sell the house. Move to Phoenix. Dry heat.
No memories.
I smiled. Packed his bags instead. But fate, or karma, intervened. A icy April morning. He slipped on black ice merging onto the Dan Ryan, his Audi crumpling against a semi. Dead on impact.
They said.
No note. No warning. Just gone. The funeral was my stage.
Este.
Augustine's. That echoey Catholic basilica in the Loop where we'd said vows under stained glass. I arranged everything. The mahogany casket, lilies because he hated roses, eulogy scripted to paint him saintly. Mourners trickled in, colleagues in ill-fitting suits, my distant cousins from Milwaukee. Then she arrived, fashionably late, turning heads like a bad omen. Victoria Hale, in widow's weeds twisted chic, black pencil skirt hugging her hips, silk blouse unbuttoned just enough, and around her throat, my mother's pearls. The double-strand necklace Mom had worn to every holiday dinner, clasped with that tiny gold turtle, her lucky charm, she'd called it. Passed to me after the cancer took her in 15, tucked in a velvet box I hadn't opened since.
How?
Jack must have lifted it during one of his guilt benders, gifted it like absolution. And Victoria wore it brazenly, fingering the pearls as she air-kissed the priest, then approached the casket. She laid a single white orchid on the lid, leaned in close, too close, and whispered something I couldn't hear. The crowd murmured approval. She was the young protégé, tragic and poised. But I saw the conquest, lips curled in private triumph, eyes scanning for me. When she straightened, our gazes locked across the pews. Her smile said, "Your move."
Bella.
I didn't lunge. Didn't scream. I slipped out the side door, dialed Harlan from the church steps. She's here. Wearing Mom's pearls. And I think she pushed him metaphorically or not. Find out how deep this goes. His gravel voice crackled back. On it. But Bella? This road's one way. You sure? Hell yes. Revenge wasn't a shot in the dark anymore.
It was a dossier.
A deposition. A detective with a badge-shaped vendetta. And Victoria? She'd just pinned a target to her chest. Harlan Crow met me in a booth at Manny's Deli the day after the funeral. The kind of joint where politicians cut deals over corned beef and the coffee's strong enough to strip paint. He slid in across from me, trench coat shedding rain like a confession. His face a map of old scars and younger regrets, 50s. Maybe. With a buzz cut going silver and eyes that didn't blink during lies. Bella Rossi, he said.
No hands, Jack.
Just a nod as he flagged the waitress. Heard about Jack. Tough break. I stirred my black coffee, the spoon clinking like a countdown. Tougher for Tommy. And now Mom's jewelry on that snake. I texted him a blurry photo from the service, Victoria mid-stride, pearls gleaming under the nave lights. Harlan pulled a manila folder from his satchel, thick as a grudge. Let's cut the eulogies. Victoria Hale's no junior associate. She's a viper in Louboutins, climbed from intern to VP in 3 years by whatever means necessary. He flipped open the file, pages fanning like a bad hand at poker. Resumes padded with Ivy League ghosts, LinkedIn polished to a sheen, but buried deeper, whispers from ex-colleagues about favors traded for promotions, a settled harassment suit from 22 that smelled like hush money. Jack's firm, Apex Capital, was a nest of wolves, high-frequency trading, offshore accounts, the American dream on steroids. Victoria had latched onto him early, post-Tommy, when guilt made him sloppy. Emails Harlan subpoenaed through a contact off books. He stressed, showed her reeling him in. We make a great team.
Jack.
Tell me everything. I'll keep our secrets. Our secrets. Plural. Harlan tapped a highlighted line, a wire transfer from Jack's personal account to an LLC in her name. $50,000 dated 2 weeks before the crash. Not embezzlement, call it consulting fee. But dig here. He slid over a grainy still from a traffic cam. The Dan Ryan on-ramp. 6:17 a.m. Jack's Audi fishtailing on ice. No semi in sight yet. But, time-stamped 5 minutes prior, Victoria's red BMW idling at a light. Her plate clear as day. My pulse hammered. She followed him? Harlan shrugged. That ex-cop, non-committal. Or coincidence. But she texted him that morning. Drive safe.
Tiger.
Big day ahead. Cryptic.
Yeah?
And get this, your pearls. Jack pawned them last fall at a shop in River North. Got $8,000 cash. Receipt traces to her account.
Souvenir?
Or payoff. I leaned back. The vinyl booth creaking under me. Mom's pearls weren't just rocks. They were her armor, worn through chemo infusions. Clutched during Dad's slow fade from Parkinson's. I'd hidden the box in our safe after her funeral.
Key on Jack's chain.
He'd cracked it open one bourbon-soaked night, sobbing about Tommy, then sobered up and never mentioned it. Victoria flaunting them? It was desecration. A middle finger to the grave. Keep digging, I said, sliding an envelope across, another $1,000 from my teacher's salary. Scraped from lesson plans sold online. Harlan pocketed it without counting.
Bella.
This ain't tidy. Jack's clean on paper, but Apex has skeletons. If Victoria's tangled, so's he. And you, lying for him back then? That makes 3 in the coffin. I waved it off. Statutes run. Focus on her. But his words stuck like burrs. That night, alone in the empty house, Jack's clothes still in the closet, his cologne haunting the bathroom, I poured a glass of that same Malbec and paced the kitchen.
The dog. Muksh.
Whined at my feet, sensing the storm. I'd covered for Jack because love's blind, but also because Tommy's death would have shattered us all. Mom, already fading, would have blamed herself for raising a failure like me, the big sister who couldn't protect him. Dad, he'd swallow it silent, like everything. So I'd lied, and we'd built our life on that fault line. Victoria's next move came swift. A sympathy card postmarked from her Gold Coast condo. Inside. Scripted font. Deepest condolences. Bella. Jack was one of a kind. Let's grab coffee, chat about his legacy. Enclosed, a photo booth strip from some office party. Her and Jack, cheek to cheek. My pearls already winking from her neck. Bitch had timing. I burned it in the sink, flames licking the edges. Then called Harlan. She's baiting me. He chuckled. Low and dry. Good. Bait works both ways. Set the meat, I'll wire you. Coffee turned into lunch at the Gauge. That gastropub on Michigan where yuppies brunch on avocado toast and ambition. She arrived 10 minutes late, radiant in cashmere and confidence. Pearls tucked away, but their echo on her skin.
Bella.
You look wrecked, bless your heart. Southern lilt she amped for effect, though she was pure Illinois bred. We ordered salads neither touched. She prattled about Jack's genius, how he'd mentored her through rough patches. I sipped my mimosa, waiting. The necklace, I said finally, voice steady as a chalkboard ruler. Those were my mother's. Jack had no right. Her fork paused midair. Then she laughed, light, tinkling, the sound of glass shattering slow.
Oh.
Honey, he insisted. Said it was his way of honoring family. After Tommy. You know, Jack carried that heavy. She reached across, patted my hand like a sorority aunt. But her eyes? Cold as Lake Michigan in January. He told me everything. The accident. The panic. how you helped him bury it, literally, with those statements. We're all complicit, aren't we? The air sucked out. She knew my lie, weaponized it casual as creamer. What do you want?
Victoria.
She leaned in, voice dropping to conspirator whisper.
Peace.
Jack's gone. But his shares in Apex? They vest to you unless questions arise about his ethics. I can smooth that. Or not. Your call. Blackmail. Round 2. But layered, not just Tommy, but the firm's dirt. Harlan's file hinted at insider trading. Jack dipping into client funds to fund her rise. If exposed, our nest egg evaporated. House. Retirement. The illusion of security. I smiled, clinked my glass to hers. Peace sounds divine. But let's talk legacy. Yours. She bought it. Or pretended. We parted with air kisses, her perfume clinging like accusation. Harlan tailed her to a parking garage. Caught her on the phone. It's done. She'll fold, always does. To whom? Unclear. But the BMW peeled out toward Apex's tower, where glass walls hid paper empires. That week blurred into stakeouts and subpoenas. Harlan uncovered more. Victoria's ex, a disgraced traitor, had OD'd 2 years back, ruled accident, but toxicology screamed foul. She'd inherited his contacts, his grudges. And Jack, a love letter from her. Dated post-confession. You swerved for us, darling. No regrets. She'd romanticized murder, turned cowardice to conquest. I confronted the mirror one dawn. Circles under my eyes like bruises. Was I avenging Tommy? Or just clawing back dignity? Max nudged my leg, tail thumping hopeful. One more push, I told him. Harlan called that afternoon. Got a lead. Anonymous source at Apex, whistleblower type. Meet tonight? The source was a mousy accountant named Lena, chain-smoking in a dive-off division. Victoria's printing money, she hissed over whiskeys. Jack was her mark, lured him with the affair, then bled him for trades. But he got cold feet, threatened to confess everything. Tommy, the funds, all of it. Lena's hands shook. She knew about the crash before it happened. Hacked his calendar. Salted the roads?
Nah.
But she timed it. Wanted him gone before the audit. Audit. Apex was under SEC sniff. Whispers of a probe. Jack's death? Convenient. My mimosa soured in memory. Victoria hadn't just worn the pearls, she'd strung us all. I left Lena with Harlan's card. Stepped into the neon night. My phone buzzed, unknown number. A voice clip, Jack's. Ragged from the hospital. Vic. If Bella finds out. I can't lose her too. Her reply. Silk over steel. Then don't. Or we both go down.
Click.
The hook sank deeper. Time to reel. The audit hit Apex like a summer squall. Headlines in the Tribune screaming, finance giant faces, federal scrutiny. I clipped them all. Pinned to a corkboard in the spare room that used to be Jack's office, now my war room, littered with Harlan's files and cold takeout containers. Victoria's face splashed across page B3, poised for the cameras. Pearls swapped for a power tie, denying baseless allegations. But her eyes in the photo, wary, like a fox scenting hounds. Harlan and I met in his nondescript sedan parked curbside to her building, a sleek high-rise on the Gold Coast where doormen nodded like sentries. She's lawyered up, he grunted. Binoculars trained on the lobby. But Lena's feeding us crumbs. Tomorrow's the deposition, your ticket in. I'd finagled it through a contact at the school. A cousin who clerked for the feds. Observer status. No questions, but close enough to watch her squirm. Sleep evaded me that night. Ghosts crowding the king bed. Tommy's lopsided grin from prom photos. Mom's frail hand clasping mine at her bedside. Jack's laugh turning hollow. I'd borne their sins, lied for him. Grieved alone. Let Victoria's shadow creep unchallenged.
But now?
The board held pins. Timelines linking her BMW to the crash site. Bank records of Jack's gifts funneled to her Cayman accounts. Even a deleted text from her to an unknown. Handle the loose end. Ice is nature's way. Morning broke gray. The lake wind whipping my coat as I rode the L to the federal building. Harlan waited in the hall. Ty askew. Smelling of black coffee and Camel Straits. Play it cool.
Bella.
She's a chameleon, flips from victim to villain faster than you can say, plausible deniability. Inside the conference room. Glass walls and mahogany table. Victoria sat flanked by suits, her attorneys. Sharks in Armani. She spotted me immediately. That smile flickering like a bad bulb. Bella? What a surprise. Supporting the process. I nodded. Took a seat in the observer's corner. Notebook open but blank. The prosecutor. A no-nonsense type named Ruiz. Dove in questions on trades. Timestamps. Jack's role. Victoria parried smooth. He was a mentor. Nothing more, but sweat beaded her upper lip when they hit the transfers. Personal loans. Repaid with interest. Ruiz slid over a printout. The $50,000. Memo line consulting T. Legacy. Her eyes flicked to me. Then away.
Tommy.
She knew I'd catch it. The room tensed. Attorneys objecting like popcorn. But Ruiz pressed. MS. Hail. Your communications with Mr. Rossi reference, T. Legacy project. Care to elaborate. She sipped water.
Composed.
A charity initiative. Bike safety. In memory of his brother-in-law. Tragic accident, hit and run. Liar. The word burned my throat. But I stayed silent. Pen scratching nonsense. Harlan coached me. Questions come later. In the quiet. When they broke for lunch. She cornered me in the ladies, mirrors multiplying her like accusations. This you're doing, Bella? Dragging my name through the mud. Up close. Without the filter of sympathy. She was sharp. Cheekbones like blades. Perfume aggressive as tear gas. The pearls, I said. Voice low. Return them. And the truth about Jack's last drive. Her laugh echoed off tile. Truth? Like how you shot him and walked. Or covered his little oopsie with Tommy. We're even. Sweetheart. She adjusted her blouse. A diamond bracelet catching light. Another gift. No doubt. But if you push.
Y spill.
All of it. Your pretty life?
Poof.
She swept out, leaving me gripping the sink. Even. As if betrayal balanced on a ledger. Back in session. She pivoted masterful. Tears for Jack's. Genius lost too soon. Hints at hostile work environment from jealous rivals. The panel ate it nods. Murmurs. But Ruiz circled back to the crash. Traffic logs showing her car in proximity. Coincidence. Victoria blinked innocent. I was heading to yoga. Jack texted he'd see me at the office. Tragic timing. Lena's crumb. Verified. Yoga studio receipt. But timestamp fudged. Digital slight. Harlan texted under the table. Got her on cam. Altering log. Tomorrow. I left the deposition hollow. Rode home through loop traffic. Horns blaring like fury. At the house, a package waited on the stoop. Brown paper. No return. Inside, the pearls strung loose. Clasp broken, tucked in tissue with a note. Wear them in good health.
V.
Triumph or trap? I rest-strung them that night. Fingers trembling. Mom's turtle pendant mocking from the vanity. Harlan called at midnight. Whistleblower spooked, pulled back. But I tailed her to a meet. Warehouse district, with a fixer type. Muscle, not suits. Audio snippet attached. Her voice.
Clipped.
Rossi widow sniffing. Shut it down, quiet. My blood iced. Shut it down.
Me?
Or the files. I paced the kitchen. Max at my heels. Until dawn. School called out sick, first time in years. Instead, I drove to Harlan's office. A walk-up above a Polish butcher in Pilsen. He was nursing a hangover. Files strewn like casualties. This escalates.
Bella.
She's not bluffing, that fixer? Ex-merc. Sheet longer than your arm. He showed mugshots. Buzzed head.
Tattoos snaking necks.
Hired muscle for discreet jobs. I swallowed. Then we go public. Leak to the press. Harlan shook his head. And dragged Tommy's ghost? Your lie?
Nah.
We bait bigger. His plan. Fake a meet. Me as the folding widow. Wired for sound. Draw her out. Record the confession. Risky. Cops hate vigilantes, but the law was her playground. Mine a graveyard. We set it for the next evening. A neutral spot. Billy Goats under the L tracks. Where stockbrokers slug beers and the river stinks of old sins. I arrived early. Wired under my sweater. Harlan in a van across the street. Victoria breezed in at 7 sharp. No entourage. Just that red dress from the funeral. Bold as blood.
Bella.
Decided to play nice. We ordered old styles. The bar's greasy hum masking the recorder's hum. I leaned in. Voice pitched vulnerable. The audit's killing me. Vic. Jack's shares, gone if this blows. What do you want to make it stop? She sipped. Eyes gleaming. Smart girl. Sign over beneficiary rights. I handle the mess. You walk with a check. Clean. And Tommy. I pressed. Heart slamming. Jack's legacy. You profited off his guilt. Her smile thinned. Guilt's a goldmine. He spilled after the bar one night, hit and run. The swerve. I listened.
Advised.
Kept him steady. Until he cracked. Post-shot. Wanted to confess. Drag us all down.
Us.
Accomplice slip. So I reminded him. Accidents happen. Like ice on the Dan Ryan. The hook. You knew about the roads? She shrugged. Casual as shrugging off a coat. Weather app. Darling. But I may have. Suggested he take the express. Faster out. Less traffic. Tragic, he didn't check the forecast. Suggested. Orchestrated. The recorder word's silent witness. I pushed. And the pearls? Souvenir of your conquest. Her laugh turned sharp. Jack's apology gift for stringing him along. Fitting.
No?
Your mom's tears. Now mine. She fingered her neck. Bare but remembering. But enough nostalgia. Sign the papers. Bella. Or next leaks your 911 call, the one you never made after popping his foot. Checkmate. I feigned defeat. Slid fake docs across. Harlan's forgery. Laced with blanks. She scanned. Signed. Pocketed her copy. Pleasure doing business. As she rose, the door swung. 2 suits. Her lawyers. Faces thunder. Harlan's doing. Tip to Ruiz. Raid in motion. Chaos erupted. Feds swarmed from the back. Badges flashing. Victoria Hale. You're under arrest. Obstruction. Conspiracy. She spun. Eyes wild on me. You bitch. This was a setup? Cuffs clicked. Her shriek echoing off graffiti walls. You'll rot for this.
Bella.
Tommy's blood? On you too. The words landed like shrapnel. As they dragged her out, the bar patrons gawked, Midwest voyeurism at its finest. Harlan emerged from the shadows, clapping my shoulder. Got it all. Ironclad. But victory tasted ash. Complicit. She'd called me. And as sirens wailed into the night, I wondered, was I avenger or accessory? The fallout from the arrest was a media circus. Chicago style, trucks idling outside the courthouse. Reporters with mics like harpoons, hungry for the angle. Widow's revenge, Mistress nabbed in hubby's crash cover-up, screamed the Sun-Times splash. My face blurred but recognizable. Pearls photoshopped like a noose. I dodged them all, holing up in the Oak Park house with blinds drawn. Max my only company. Harlan called daily updates. Victoria arraigned on conspiracy to defraud. Held without bail, flight risk. Judge ruled. Citing those Cayman wires. She's singing, he said one afternoon. Voice tinny over the landline. Blames Jack for everything. But Ruiz is peeling layers. Your tape? Gold. I paced the living room. Sunlight slanting through slats like prison bars. Gold. But tainted. Tommy's file sat open on the coffee table, Harlan's gift. The original police report I'd buried in my chest for years. My statement. Alone all evening. No word from Jack. Lie bold as brass. If Victoria flipped full, immunity for spilling on me? The feds loved a family drama. School suspended me pending investigation. Whispers of conflict.
The what?
A dead husband? I drove aimless loops around the lake instead. Windows down. Wind whipping regrets. Mom's voice echoed from old voicemails. Keep the family tight. Bella girl. Blood's thicker. Thicker than truth. Apparently. Jack's estate froze. Lawyers circling like vultures. The house payment loomed. My savings a joke against Apex's shadow. Victoria's play came via her attorney. A slick operator named Kessler, who cornered me at a Starbucks off Lakeshore, neutral ground. He claimed, but the latte tasted bitter. My client's willing to deal, he said, adjusting cufflinks that screamed old money. Plea to misdemeanor. Community service. In exchange, she retracts claims against you. No Tommy testimony. I stirred foam to oblivion. And the pearls? He slid a velvet box across, repaired, gleaming. Returned with apologies. But Bella, off record, Victoria says Jack confessed the hit and run to you first. That you urged silence. To protect the marriage. Lies. Twisted. I'd learned later.
Post-wedding.
When guilt cracked him during a lakefront fight. Cover for me. Bells? For us. I'd nodded. Numb. Love's narcotic. Now it poisoned. Tell her no deal, I said. box untouched. Full confession. Or we dance in court. Kessler's smile didn't reach. Careful. Trials unearth bones. He left, and I sat till closing, the box burning a hole. Mom's turtle stared up, judgmental. Harlan met me that night at his Pilsen hole in the wall. Polish flags drooping from the ceiling. Fridge humming like accusation. Kessler's bluffing. He poured bourbon.
Neat.
Vic's cornered. SEC's got her on 3 counts. Plus the crash nudge. Manslaughter if Ruiz pushes. He clinked glasses, but his eyes held caution. But your angle? Risky. Testify. And the lie surfaces. Jury sees enabler. Not victim. Victim. The word chafed. I wasn't porcelain. I was the hammer. Then we twist it. Make her the monster. Harlan nodded slow. Pulled a fresh file. Victoria's origin story. Uglier than polish. Born Vicky Halpern in a Gary trailer park. Clawing out via community college and cutthroat internships. Dad a steelworker turned drunk. Mom OD'd on pills. Echoes of my own ghosts. But her rise? Paved with bodies. The ex-traitor, not suicide, but pushed after he threatened exposure. A rival in turn relocated after leaked nudes. Pattern, Harlan said. She collects secrets like stamps. Jack was trophy guilt. Power. Your life as collateral. Photos spilled. Her with the fixer. Warehouse meets under sodium lights. Hired him for intimidation, that plea? To bury this. My phone buzzed mid-sip, unknown. But I knew. Voicemail. Victoria. Voice raw from holding cell.
Bella. You win.
But think, Jack chose me. Every night. Every lie. You were the placeholder. Static. Then click. I deleted it. But the barb lodged. Court day dawned muggy. The daily center a fortress of marble and malice. I slipped in back. Anonymous in sunglasses and a scarf. Spectator now. Not player. Victoria entered shackled. Orange jumpsuit clashing her tan. Hair limp without product.
No pearls.
Just irony. Ruiz opened strong. Tapes played. My Billy Goat's wire crisp, her suggestion on the drive. The legacy profits. Jurors leaned in. Faces Midwestern stern. Her defense pivoted. Victim narrative. MS. Hale was manipulated by a married man twice her age. Entangled in his web of deceit. Tears on cue. Voice quavering. Jack confessed the accident, Tommy's death, and I tried to help. Charity donations. Support. But he spiraled. Paranoia after Bella shot him. The crash? I warned him. Drive safe. Out of care. Lies layered like lacquer. Then the gut punch. And Bella? She knew all along. Covered it to save face. Complicit. Gasps rippled.
Ruiz objected.
But the seed planted. My hands clenched in lap. Complicit. Again. Harlan texted. Steady. Our rebuttal next. But as she locked eyes across the room, triumph flickering despite chains, I felt the fracture. Sides blurring. Her the climber. Me the clinger. Who betrayed who? Recess hit like reprieve. I bolted to the hall. Lungs burning. Collided with Kessler. Please back on table, he murmured. Dismissal if you testify for her. Sellout. For silence on my lie. Fuck off, I hissed, shoving past. But doubt trailed. Testify truth. Free her. Bury Tommy's ghost? Or fight? Risk exposure. Become the villain in my own eulogy? Harlan found me on a bench, chain smoking his last. Ruiz has the fixer, flipped for leniency. Testimony tomorrow. Victoria hired him to tail Jack. Tamper brakes if needed. Tamper. Not ice, sabotage. Murder. Premeditated. She's done, he said. But your call.
Bella.
Drop the observer bit. Take the stand. Own the lie. Flip the script. Own it. The bourbon from last night soured in memory. That night, alone with Max and the pearls rest-strung on the mantel, I drafted words. I lied for love. For family. But silence kills twice. Dawn found me resolute, testify. All of it. Tommy deserved light. Even fractured. Court reconvened electric. Fixer took the stand, tattooed and taciturn. She paid me $5,000. Ensure he doesn't make the meeting. Tools from her garage, wire cutters. Jurors paled. Victoria's face drained. Defense scrambling. Then Ruiz called me. Mrs. Rossi, please. I rose. Legs lead. Approached the box. Oath sworn. Eyes on the Bible like absolution. Tell us about Thomas Rossi, Ruiz prompted.
Tommy.
Brother.
Ghost.
Voice steady. Eyes spilled. The confession. The lie. The shot in the foot, a desperate bid to end it. Gasps again. But softer, pity now. And Victoria's role? Her eyes bored in. Pleading silent, don't. Blackmail, I said. She knew. Used it. For money.
Power.
And Jack's death? She engineered it. Not accident, ambition. The tape played again. Her voice damning. Defense crossfired. You enabled him. Mrs. Rossi. Why believe you now? I met their gaze. Because lies are heavier than truth. And I'm done carrying. Verdict deliberations stretched 2 days. City, holding breath. I hold with Harlan at a motel, off 94, neutral.
Cheap.
We watch storms roll off the lake. Thunder rumbling like unrest. You did right, he said over pizza. But right ain't clean. He was right. My lie exposed. Headlines shifted. Widow confesses cover-up in lover's trial. School fired me outright. Morals clause. They cited. House in foreclosure whispers.
Guilty.
On all counts. Fraud. Conspiracy. Manslaughter. Victoria sentenced to 25. No parole. Courtroom erupted. Reporters surging. Her shriek as bailiffs hauled. You stole everything. Bella. My life. I stood frozen. Pearls heavy in pocket. Ruiz nodding approval. Victory.
Pyrrhic.
But as flashbulbs popped, a juror approached. Older woman. Kind eyes. Brave. What you did.
But.
Was it justice?
For the boy.
Tommy. The question hung. Debatable as dawn. The months post-verdict blurred into a gray limbo. Chicago's winter clamping down like judgment. Reporters camped my lawn sporadically. But novelty faded. Victoria's appeal dragged in appeals court. My name footnote. I sold the house quick. Cash for a studio walk-up in Logan Square, hipster haven of breweries and murals. Ironic escape from suburbia's ghosts.
Mox adapted.
Chasing squirrels in the postage yard, I adapted slower. Nights staring at ceiling cracks. Replaying courtroom echoes. Harlan vanished into casework, but checked in monthly, Gruff calls about staying frosty. His last gift, a thumb drive. Apex whistleblower files. Clean slate.
Bella.
You're cut from the settlements. Not riches, but enough. Teacher's pension clawed back. Plus restitution from Victoria's frozen assets. The pearls? Donated to a women's shelter. Mom would have approved. Armor for the broken. Teaching gigs dried, sub-days here. There, but I volunteered at a community center. Reading to kids whose eyes held that same hungry spark Tommy's had. Stories fix what's bent, I'd say. Channeling Gatsby's green light.
Lies.
Half. Stories bury.
2.
Victoria's letter started in spring. Postmarked from Dwight Correctional, women's lockup downstate. Where cornfields mock freedom. First one. Rage scrawled. You ruin me for a dead boy and a dead man. Rot. I burned it. Second. Contrite.
Therapy speak.
I was climbing out of nothing. Bella. Jack was the ladder, you the termite. Philosophical. Almost. Third. The hook. I have something for you. Visit.
The.
Curiosity. That old cat killer. I drove down in June. The prison a squat brutalist scar on flatland.
Raser wide glinting cruel.
Processing stripped dignity, shoes off. Padons. The hum of fluorescent shame. Victoria waited in visitation. Plexiglass dividing us like original sin. Changed, hair chopped blunt, skin sallow, but eyes still sharp.
Scheming.
Bella, she said into the receiver. Voice tinny. You came. Knew you would. No wodems. Just calculation. I gripped the phone.
Silent. She leaned in.
The trial. You owned your lie. Respect. But I held back. One truth left. My pulse ticked. Spit it. She smiled. Slow.
Tommy.
Not just Jack Swerve. I was there.
There.
The ravine. The bike path under sodium hush. Summer 18. Pre-internship.
Jack and I.
Early days. He was showing me the ropes, literally. Scouting properties for a client. That path bordered a lot. We argued stupid. About boundaries. He sped off mad. I followed in my beater Civic. Saw the kid on the bike. Yelled for Jack to slow. He didn't. Clipped him. The world tilted. You witnessed? She nodded. Almost sad. Panic same as him. Pulled over after. But Tommy was
gone.
Jack begged. Help me bury this.
Vic.
For her.
Meaning you.
Said you'd shatter.
Shatter.
I'd already cracked. Mending with lies. So I did. Drove away. Deleted footage from my dash cam. Kept the secret for leverage later. Leverage. The betrayal deepened. Fractal. Not just Jack's cowardice. Ours. Collective. Why tell now? I whispered. Her laugh crackled static. Redemption?
Nah.
Parole board next year. Your word, she came clean. Tipped scales.
Plus. Symmetry.
You took my freedom. I give truth's weight. I hung up numb. The drive home a blur of semis and regret. Harlan confirmed via contacts. Dash cam logs wiped. But metadata faint. Her Civic. Timestamp match. Witness. Not instigator. But silent. Accomplice. The twist settled uneasy.
No caps. Statute sealed.
Bones too old. But debate raged internal. Confront her in letters? Expose in a book? Anonymized? Or bury? Like we all had? Tommy's memorial. I added a plaque. Written by truths unspoken.
Vague.
Debatable. Summer waned, and I met someone unremarkable. A barista named Nate with tattoos and a poetry habit. We talked Gatsby over IPAs. His hand steady where Jack's shook. No secrets yet, but hints. Everyone's got a swerve story. Sex was tentative. Laughter easy. Happy? Leaning. Victoria's parole hearing loomed October. I wrote the board, she confessed. Weigh that. Neutral. Factual. Her release granted. Good behavior.
Plus coopération.
She texted from a burner weeks later. Out. Thanks.
Bella.
Drinks? Closure. I deleted.
Blocked.
Closure's a myth. Scars itch eternal. But in the studio's dawn light, Max snoring soft, Nate's arm loose across sheets. I felt the shift. Revenge's fire banked to embers. Warm, not scorching. Tommy gone. Jack dust. Victoria a shadow fading. Yet the debate lingers. Was I hero? Hauling light? Or villain? Shattering glass houses? No sides clean. America's gospel. Gray as lake fog. Mom's pearls. Long gone. Whisper. Blood's thick. But truth cuts deeper. And in that cut, maybe grace. Or maybe just the next swerve.